hi, I'm Cindy, and welcome to Pearls of Liberty, January 29th, 2012. We are in Paso Robles this weekend for California Republic Assembly meeting. And it was a pleasant meeting.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. We had a new moderator, so that things went really nice and fast, and we didn't have all wonderful Ken Cousins teaching wrapped throughout it, which was we kind of missed. But
yeah.
We can hear Ken on the radio. I want to recommend Morning Liberty on Saturday mornings from 7 to 9 to everybody.
Friday morning.
I meant to say Friday. Yeah, and that's awesome. Not enough people know about Ken. He's truly a treasure and a deep, deep understanding of the world system. So he is our California governor and used to moderate until he got elected, and now we have a new moderator at the Republic meetings, and we had some very interesting guests this week that happened to be in the Central Coast area where we were meeting, so they were scheduled to do a presentation to us, and this is Jeff Lind and Tom Murphy. And Jeff is a marketing guy by trade. Both of these guys are committed Christians, and both of them are committed to the Liberty movement in a very, very strong way. They're connected to Oath Keepers, and I would presume some other groups. And Tom has a deep understanding of the technology and the politics of the water system, and particularly the sewage system in the United States, which, news to us, but it makes total sense, is one of the key foundations of the way the system works, not only in our nation, but worldwide. They control all the major agencies, the governmental agencies that you pay taxes to, and then it constructs this bureaucracy which controls many, many things. And a very important aspect of this is the sanitation industry, and Tom happens to be the inventor of a remarkable process that purifies wastewater, and not only it takes out all the elements that make it toxic, but also rebalances the pH to slightly alkaline, so it's very healthy. And the test case that they're involved with is in a city called Los Osos here on the California coast, and there are a number of homes, and they focused on one woman in particular, they're being forced to evacuate or be evicted from their homes, and a single mom in this case, because they were polluting the groundwater because they didn't have an adequate sewage system in that community. So the inventor of this product, Tom, installed it into her system, and they were forced to remove it. And in other words, these people don't want answers. They just want their monopoly. So there is a whole lot of background to this. And this guy has an extreme amount of credibility, and I can't do it justice here to explain his invention, but he's not trying to make any money off of it. He has actually given it to an organization, I believe it's the NSEA, in order to not make any money off of it himself. So he's totally removed the profit motive from this. But what he's doing is he's exposing the system that he used to be a part of, because now he sees that it's not really acting the public good. And the way that they are doing that, and he's kind of teamed up with this guy, Jeff, who's a marketing guy or by background, so he can communicate with the media, etc. The way that they're doing it is the Federal Clean Water Act of, I think it's 1973, and that mandates that the best technology needs to be used in order to purify wastewater. And they're not using it because they've got this centralized method of sewage treatment that is the way that they control all the effluent from all the toilets. And anybody who has sworn an oath to uphold and defend the laws of the Constitution and the Constitution of the United States is guilty of violation of the Clean Water Act unless they implement the technology that is known to them. So they've notified these officials that this technology is available, and they're not using it. And they're enforcing their monopoly, which is their control system. So it's very, very interesting to see this thing develop. These guys have been on local media, and there's stories about them in the paper, but there's also countersuits against them, and they say they're that they're guilty of filing fraudulent claims, and they refuse to get a bar-certified lawyer, etc. So more people in the Patriot movement need to know about this. This guy is going nationwide, but this is just in the incipient form here. So we're breaking something that is really a very important story.
And they said that there are 3 groups of people who oppose this technology and this progress. And they are the civil engineers, the lawyers and judges, the members of the bar, in other words, and the bankers. And this really has huge implications because wastewater is a $500 trillion industry.
Yeah, and to be clear on the civil engineer thing, it's a certain specialty within civil engineering. And Tom said it's actually a very small specialty, but because there's groups connected to groups, it appears as if all civil engineers are behind this obstructionist technology, but it's not all civil engineers. It's only a very high level of those that are specialized in wastewater treatment. So I just want to make that clear.
And they were saying that the largest single source of income for many communities, many city governments, is water and sewer. Mm-hmm. So what this technology allows for is there would virtually never ever be a shortage of water for people's use, because there would be a certain amount of water that maintained everything in your household. That same water could be recycled over and over and over again.
It sounds gross, but it's totally doable.
Yeah, it's totally doable.
Yeah, and basically we trust these guys. The guys know what they're talking about. Especially Tom. He's the brains behind the outfit. He's been in this industry for, I think it's 30 plus years or whatever, and he's developed I don't know how many patents that have to do with this technology. And again, he's not making any money off of the use of these devices, which are totally scalable. Can be used to treat a large area, can be used to treat a small area. One thing I didn't make clear earlier is that all cities' wastewater are polluting the groundwater because the sewage effluent is in clay pipes, and or even if they're iron, they'd rot out, but they're clay, and everybody knows that those things just crack, and there's just tremendous amounts of sewage that are going into groundwater in any city of any significant size. So this is something that affects everybody, and people in the Liberty Patriot movements have known for a long time that a way that people that are the elites have controlled people is through the water system, fluoride, etc., additives to the water, and not only the taxes, but we hardly ever think of the water going out, and this is as big or bigger. So this is light bulbs kind of go on when you start to learn about this stuff, and they certainly did for us this weekend.
And not only, I mean, if not all Liberty people are real intense environmentalists, because that has all been manipulated so much. However, these gentlemen said yesterday that the pH of the ocean has gone up 1 full point since it has been monitored. Yeah. And that's
a factor of 10 of the hydrogen ion concentration. So yeah, that's huge.
That's due to the sewage that gets released into groundwater that eventually ends up in the oceans.
And that's acidification of our environment, which we personally think more in terms of our own internal pH as to that being why people are getting cancer, but our whole environment is lowering in pH, less alkaline, more acid, which makes for everything to be more cancer prone, and we're a part of that environment. So it's not only inside of our bodies, it's outside of our bodies, this increasing acidity, which is demonstrable. And again, these guys, and really Tom is the engineer behind the solution to the wastewater treatment to have alkalized the effluent, and not only purified but alkalized. It's amazing.
So, overall, the Earth is dying because of things that there are issues that there are real, specific, available, inexpensive solutions for. Meanwhile, we're supposed to be panicked about CO2, which it occurs naturally, And trees need, all plants breathe in. They, just like we breathe in oxygen and process it into CO2, they breathe, green things breathe in CO2 and process it into oxygen.
Yeah, the way these guys work constantly is problem, reaction, solution. So there'll be a problem, but they'll mask it over with a phony problem that they have a phony solution to. Yes, there are real environmental problems.
Absolutely.
But CO2 is not one of them, and historically we are well within the bounds of normal CO2. We could actually use a lot more, and that would help the plant life. So that is not our problem. Greenhouse gases, global warming is not our problem. We have some serious pollution problems that aren't being dealt with because the technology that deals with them is decentralized, or can very easily be decentralized, and the controllers require centralized solutions. New emerging technologies in many areas are inherently decentralized, which robs them of their power. We have been stalled on so many fronts because the powers that be want to maintain control over humanity through centralized technologies, as well as centralized banking, but centralized technologies. And anything that makes a healthier Earth and is decentralized, that's what we want to be for, and that's what they try to keep hidden.
Absolutely. So this is, it's not hidden now. If you're watching this and you can talk about it, let
we want to go
people
viral.
know. Absolutely. not just us, but we want this
information. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you've watched this vlog for any amount of time, you are aware that our friend Ian Garland has been held in a New Mexico jail since last March, so it's going on a year now. He was denied bail. He has no court date, and he has endured horrendous treatment. He has, the beds are just a little slab that sticks out from the wall, and it's much too small for him, so he has slept on concrete floors. He's been put in a cell where someone committed suicide that was covered with feces and urine. His treatment's been abhorrent. He was denied his blood pressure medicine for 3 days until he passed out, and he's been ill many times. We'll come to find out now that another person who has been incarcerated by the Dona Ana system in New Mexico has sued for $22 million for bad treatment and won.
Yeah, amazing. And boy, this is not somebody who sipped a cup of McDonald's coffee and got scalded and decided that they were going to make some money off of it. This is someone with real serious damages. Somebody accidentally checked the box that he had psychiatric problems, and he didn't. And because of that, that's a big red flag within the system, that they can do whatever they want to with him, because everybody already knows you're crazy, so nobody's going to pay any attention to you. And that's what happened to this man. And for over a year, or I think it's something like 20 months, he was incarcerated in the kinds of conditions that Ian Garland had. And when we read the story, we said, that's not only the same county, it's probably the same prison that Ian is in. And these things exist in the United States of America. It's absolutely unconscionable, and we are glad that these punitive damages have been awarded to this man, and we pray for the release and exoneration and everything else for Ian.
Yeah, so if you're an attorney and you want a piece of a big lawsuit, maybe you can help Ian win as this man has won, because his treatment has also been atrocious. Yeah. So, and we did want to talk just a little bit about the prison system in general. It's the prison system in the U.S. is huge. I believe over half of the prisoners worldwide are incarcerated in the United States of America. And when you consider the percentages there with our population, that is just inexcusable.
Yeah. We have a fraction of the world's population. We have 300 million in the United States compared to something close to 7 billion worldwide. So a tiny fraction of the global population, and the highest per capita, and I think one of the total, the largest prison population. So yeah, we think of people being imprisoned in communist China, etc., not getting fair trials. Hey, it's happening right here.
Oh, yeah.
And people need to realize that. This is a big money-making thing for corporations. They get all the slave labor. Why do the violent offenders go free and the non-violent offenders, small-time marijuana users, etc., get locked up in these things? Because they make great workers. And there are many of the, I was just reading an article, and I refer it to you, globalresearch.ca has an excellent article on how the U.S. prison system is a big money maker for the global corporations, particularly corporations like Lockheed Martin that are big defense contractors, other ones like Grumman, etc. And they use a lot of what's really slave labor from the U.S. prison system, and it's a crime, and Americans don't know about it.
Well, they make money on both sides of the proposition too, because for the most part now, prisons are run by corporations, and these corporations are paid huge amounts of money by the government, whether state, federal, the people who they're receiving all this tax money.
Yeah.
So they're making money going in because they're paid to maintain the prisoners, and they're making money on the work of the prisoners.
Yeah. Yeah, this began under I think it was Ronald Reagan, then accelerated under George Herbert Walker Bush, but then advanced even further under Clinton. So yeah, you could, if you wanted to pin it on a political party, you'd have to say, well, it's really both. I'm sorry that Clinton and the Democrats are just as guilty as any Republican president, and of course Obama's done nothing to change it. So this is something that is going on behind the scenes. It's a global New World Order control mechanism that transcends parties of any political persuasion, because the dollar finances is what's behind it. Finance and control.
So, you've probably seen The Shawshank Redemption. I think just about everybody probably has. It's not too far from the truth. In fact, it's probably worse than... Yeah, it's a whitewash. There you go. So,
the warden is the corrupt criminal.
we continue to... And they're masquerading. He's masquerading as a Christian. I mean, he believes he's a Christian. Yeah. So that's the irony there with the... And, since we're on the subject...
Movies?
No. People who appear to be Christians.
Oh.
Or even who might believe they're Christians. I can't remember if we talked about this last week or not in relation to Mitt Romney and Newt Gingrich, but...
yeah, we talked a little bit about, I know I talked about Christians being deceived by Newt Gingrich, and the saga continues. This is something that people need to wise up about. I highly recommend a column by Chuck Baldwin, and his site is Chuck Baldwin Live. One of his most recent columns is called Newt Gingrich, Really? And it's about Gingrich's win in South Carolina, and South Carolina being the buckle in the Bible Belt, so to speak, for the evangelical conservative Christians. He talks about Liberty College and other long-time stalwart areas of defending Christian values. And he goes through a list of Christian values, and as he says, if you think that this is the problem, that we've lost this value, Newt Gingrich is not the solution. And it's really blatantly obvious why. So, wow. It's amazing. It's amazing. Why don't Christians see Ron Paul? And I think it's the whole idea of the military-industrial complex being identified as somehow a good thing and benefiting the world and keeping the world safe, when really that's, I would say superficial at best and propaganda more completely. Because, just to put it bluntly, and I've said this before, the reason other countries get invaded and occupied by the U.S. and other allied military forces such as the British is because the countries don't have a central bank that is cooperating with the European American banking cabal. And that's really what's behind the whole deal. This is the enforcement arm of the New World Order. The economic capital with its obelisk in London is the finance. The spiritual capital is the Vatican with its obelisk there, and major world leaders do often convert to Catholicism, as did Tony Blair. I think there was something about Gingrich potentially doing that. He hasn't done that yet, but there's all these, of course, Santorum is Catholic, and then you have the military capital of the New World Order in Washington, D.C. with its obelisk there. That's the long-term plan, and that is really the power structure of the New World Order. We do hope and pray that that is broken, and that's not because we like to see anything bad to happen to our country. We love the United States of America. We love the Constitution. We love everything it stands for. But there is growing awareness around the world of the true nature of this beast, and that's what it is. It's the beast world system. And there is hope that the freedom-loving people with resources in Asia will help us as the world goes into tyranny to find a way out, and we're continually hopeful about that.
Sure, and if you follow Benjamin Fulford's blogs, as we do, and there are other people talking about the same thing, we do have great hope that there are people in Asia who have, according to reports, have taken control of the finances and locked up some of the finances of some of these perpetrators of evil. And we do continue to hope that liberty will come. And I think we might have even mentioned this last week, but Benjamin Fulford has written that the Asians want to repair and rebalance the world economic system, financial system. But unlike what we in the U.S. have done to other nations, they do not want to interfere in our political system. So it falls to us, the people of the United States, to restore our political system. So get ready, because the moment is going to come when we have opportunity, and we need to be ready to take the opportunity.
And be aware that the way that the powers that be like to manipulate things is, again, I'll say it through problem, reaction, solution. It's David Icke coined that term. It's a shorthand way of understanding the Hegelian dialectic, which is how these guys work. But they create the problem, and that often takes the form of chaos, or perceived by the public to be chaos. So they will purposely, once they see their system no longer retaining control, they will throw things into chaos, and then behind the scenes they'll orchestrate the solution that solidifies their control. So we need to be aware of that, and let's illustrate a case in point with that in mind, is what's happening to Barack Obama. Now, he's a puppet. We know that, but in the process of a puppet being exposed, people have an opportunity to see the man behind the curtain, and that's what we hope happens. What we don't want to have happen is just to have the person on the other side of the spectrum, the false left-right political spectrum, get the victory out of that. That just perpetuates the problem. So there is a situation right now in Georgia with Obama being, at least so far, disqualified from appearing on the primary ballot and potentially even the presidential ballot in the state of Georgia due to ruling, and Obama didn't appear and laughed the whole thing off. So it's people on the right are gleefully pointing out that Obama's a fraud, his birth certificate, etc. And this is what come up in the court case. Why is he using a Connecticut Social Security number, etc., etc.? And what people need to think is, gosh, this is a fraud, but it's a fraud that's been perpetuated by both parties. It isn't wonderful that the Republican and, you could say, conservative, you might even call them racist. I believe that's totally bogus, but that's how the establishment will seek to disable this thing that enables you to look behind the curtain, because The right doesn't want you to look behind the curtain any more than the left does. Ask yourself, how could this happen that somebody that's not even qualified to be president could come to be? It's not because people just didn't look or didn't think it was possible. It's because the system wanted it. And they plan to use the chaos that comes from people realizing that to sow such a lack of confidence in the system that they can substitute some kind of other control. One would be military on the streets, aka martial law, that kind of thing, but it might not take that form. It might take some other form. The point is that once something is exposed, we need to look deeper and not just swing on this false pendulum to the other side.
It might take the form of Grand Dame Hillary Clinton moving into the White House as the first lady president. And I just mentioned that Grand Dame because, what's the guy's name who was on Alex Jones on Fritz Springmeier.
Fritz Springmeier, yeah.
Was talking about how Hillary is has been made Grand Dame of the Illuminati, which
and I don't
is the
think that's
highest
recent.
rank.
That's just
She's
done
for
ritual
women.
Sacrifices in this castle where these evil
Not
deeds
a
are done.
joke.
So,
It's very serious stuff.
So it's not a joke. It's just the stuff that Fritz Springmeier knows and has documented is amazing, and we highly recommend that stuff. We both have been aware of some of that stuff for a long time, and this goes deep. These guys are evil to the core, and they're being exposed because now is the time that truth is being shouted from the housetops, if you consider the internet a housetop.
But the issues with Obama's birth certificate and that whole thing, it really could the whole thing could be a plan to move Hillary into that position without a whole lot of questions asked.
Well, we got the vice president. We got the secession it's not Secretary of State, but she's not far down the line either.
No. I'm actually referring to the election.
Stepping into the.
If he's
and I think she was
disqualified.
probably told when she stepped aside at the primary race in 2008 that she'd have her chance. And of course, Secretary of State does have a lot of power to move things globally, especially in cooperation with the powers that be, the New World Order. And she's been doing that. But, these people want a ego position, and the President of the United States is that. So I don't think there's too much doubt that Hillary would like to have that, and this might be a setup for that,
Yeah. But please keep praying for justice and peace. And there still is a lot of noise about the possibility of something happening with Iran, something between Iran and Israel. And I think you wanted to mention that.
Yeah, just briefly, there is a lot of concern that war is on the horizon. But I think it's really more the sound of drum beats and a diversion from the things that people should be concerned about. People should be concerned with the economic situation in the United States. They should be concerned with the power grabs that are occurring at all levels, and particularly within the federal government, in the executive branch, and the centralization of power, the growing police state, NDAA, and others, SOPA, other things like that, to try to take away the freedom of Americans. And the reason that these wars and war scenarios are being trumped up is so that they can clamp down with increased control and a quasi-police state, or even an overt and outright police state. And that's the real reason why governments want to go to war, when peace would really serve them better. It's because there is another agenda, and it's not good for the people.
Sure. So we're praying for peace and justice and liberty. And the way we get there, I think, is through prayer and faith and releasing positive vibes, if you don't like the Christian terminology. And start by loving the people around you. Love one another.
Yeah. And as Ken Cousins likes to say, it's a very profound truth that polarization is how these guys work. That's another way of saying this problem, reaction, solution thing. So whenever you can defuse, wherever there is hatred, let me sow love, peace, and that's the way to go. It's not really so much about compromise as it is about not responding in kind, not responding out of reactivity, not reacting out of your lower brain, but out of your higher spiritual being. And on that note, anything else?
I don't think so. Have a good week.